Hello, my lovely, beautiful Capricorns. Welcome back to the channel today. We are going to be doing your weekly reading for April 8th through the 21st. We're going to go ahead and get started. Now, as I'm pulling your cards here, let's talk about what's happening on April 8th. Your very first card on Monday here. On April 8th, we have a very powerful new moon in the sign of Aries, and it's also a solar eclipse. This solar eclipse is setting off a 6-month time period of big changes happening within our lives. So there's going to be a lot of stuff changing. There's going to be a lot of new things happening. Things will be shifting around, and you'll also be, it's a big time period of transformation. If you remember from your reading 2 weeks ago, which if you haven't seen it, I suggest you go and take a look at it if you haven't yet. But if you remember from your reading about 2 weeks ago, the previous 2 weeks are all preparing us for this really big change. It's bringing things to light so that we can evolve, so that we can change and grow. And this 2-week time period is illuminating the things that need changed. And during a new moon, new moons are usually times of manifestation, great manifestation, and intention setting. So that 2-week time period is bringing things to light so that you are prepared to set this intention starting on April 8th. There's, just lots of transformation happening, lots of changes to yourself and the way that you show up in the world, as well as changes to the people around you and your environment. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and take a look at your oracle cards to start. Your first one here is the White Raven Spirit, which says, trust in the magic. Trust in the magic that's happening around you at this time. Trust in the changes that are happening. Your next card says Bobcat Spirit, which is life is a mystery. Yeah, sometimes stuff happens that we may not always understand. We may not always be aware of these things or why this thing is happening. It is a mystery, but, it's just something that we have to roll with. It's something that we have to learn to accept and be okay with. And finally, the Koala Spirit, which says Spirit has a plan. Life is a mystery, but Spirit has a plan. So trust in the greater plan for your life. Trust that things are working towards your greatest good at all times. Now we're going to go ahead and get started with the tarot cards here. Your very first card on April 8th is the Princess of Wands in reverse. So this tells me, Capricorn, that a lot of what you are working on at this time is your confidence and how you show up in this world, and also how you approach problems or difficulties within your life. You see, the Princess of Wands kind of has this piece of immaturity in a way, and it's not like a bad thing. It's not about a value statement for you. It's just that, this person hasn't quite had the full life experience about things, and so, their perspective on things can be a little bit more immature, especially in the reverse when this shows up. And this is also about your confidence. So, this is the way that you are showing up in the world, the way that you approach your problems or relate to them. With this piece of almost immaturity, it's as if you don't know what you don't know, right? And you don't know until you actually go through it. And so, Capricorn, I'm not trying to, say that you are immature, right? I'm just saying that, there's a little bit of growth that's happening here, and this big change that's happening for you is within your maturity, within your growth and your confidence, because wands are confidence. They're our confidence in ourselves and our ability to see something through, to get something done. So your confidence is a really big thing that over these next 6 months is going to be transformed for you. Life, we're constantly improving. We're constantly making big changes towards being better, acting better, doing better, and constantly on this place of self-improvement. So Capricorn, saying that there is this piece of immaturity, it's not meant in a way to upset you, but I guess to bring it to your attention, because, it's an opportunity for growth and not necessarily an opportunity to bash you or make you feel bad, right? That's not my intention with this. Your next card here, Capricorn, is the Queen of Swords in reverse. Now, this does signal some mental confusion. We are in the beginning stages of Mercury retrograde at this time. This reading does occur during Mercury retrograde, so you very well could be noticing these pieces of your thoughts or that your thinking is a little bit off at this time. Maybe that you're not thinking as clearly, or that things are very confusing and you're not quite sure how to look ahead and plan steps out. You almost feel as though you can't see far enough ahead, like you're surrounded by a fog, a mental fog, really. And so the Queen of Swords in reverse is saying that, there's this piece of confusion going on, especially paired with that Princess of Wands in the reverse. Like we said, you don't know what you don't know. And it can feel as though, almost like a piece of immaturity, like we were saying, right? There's growth that needs to happen. The Queen of Swords says that you may not necessarily know what steps you need to take, and that, even with that being in the reverse, it could mean that you are resisting this change or resisting this growth process along the way as well. Following the Queen of Swords in reverse, you have the Four of Wands in reverse. Now, this can also signal changes within the home life, within relationships and partnerships as well, because the Four of Wands is often associated with marriage, right? It's actually kind of a portal card most of the time. This card is about shifting from one life into the next life. When people get married, it's like two become one. And it's the shifting, the celebration that happens when you shift into this new married life. You leave your old life behind and you move through a portal into a new life together with someone. So the Four of Wands in reverse, because it does have ties with marriage, you could be seeing a little bit of, I don't want to say like marriage problems, but kind of. It's more just that, you're realizing maybe that certain things are not aligning with this. You may even be trying to plan a wedding and noticing that there are like some problems occurring, maybe not necessarily within your relationship, but within the planning process, like not having the venue available for the dates that you want, something like that. Oftentimes, though, because this does have that piece of marriage about it, this is also about the home. I mean, when you look at this card, there's the Four Wands holding up the roof and the foundation. It connects the two, and it builds the walls. It builds the house that you live in. And so because it does have this piece about the home associated with it, there can be this changes happening within the home. So you may be moving, or you may be looking for a new home or a new place to live at this time. Moving on from the Four of Wands in reverse, you have the Ace of Wands in the upright. Let's see if I can pick this card up. Jeez Louise. So you have the Ace of Wands following that Four of Wands in reverse. Now, I always really like to see this card when it shows up in the upright, because it's like that spark of inspiration. It's like a match being lit. Your drive to change, or your drive to start a new project or to do something for yourself, is ignited at this time. So even though you're having this like mental confusion, even though you may be having like difficulties about these certain areas within your home or within a partnership, it's almost as if the Ace of Wands is like a renewing of your energy towards whatever this thing may be. So you may find a peace that gives you kind of the answer that you're looking for, gives you the tool necessary in order to keep navigating this problem. Spirit has a plan, and so this almost feels like that moment when, like, if you're feeling discouraged or you're feeling as though Spirit is like out to get you in some way, the Ace of Wands is kind of this reignition of your trust and your faith with the universe, your faith with Spirit. Moving on from the Ace of Wands, you have the Eight of Swords. And this is about freeing yourself and seeing things for the truth. Now, this card, when you do see it, this person has like a blindfold on, and they have these like cuffs around their wrists restraining them. And this card talks about the need for an awakening, the need for breaking free from these things, seeing the truth for yourself. And so I feel like paired with that Ace of Wands, this is the truth that you're able to begin to see, or at least you're in the process of starting to see the truth. about this particular situation that's occurring. Whether it be about, how to navigate this, I feel like you're really just navigating this discontent within the home or within the marriage and relationship. You're seeing the truth for it for what it is, and you have this tool or this opportunity being presented to you that allows you to really start to make this change, make these mental adjustments within your mind here. Following the Eight of Swords, you have the Eight of Pentacles in reverse. So 2 8s in a row, I just always really like when stuff like that happens. But the Ace of Pentacles, or 8, excuse me, not the Ace. You do have the Ace further on. But this is the 8 of Pentacles in reverse. I feel like this awakening or this truth that's being brought to light for you, Capricorn, does kind of have this air of needing to do some work. And you feel very resistant to doing this work. Especially if, if this awakening brings up some uncomfortable truths, right? Or brings up some uncomfortable things. This could even mean that you have been doing a lot of work at this time, but that this work you haven't seen a result or the intended result from it yet. You've been putting in a lot of work towards fixing or towards building this thing to begin with, and so you're not quite seeing the result of the action or the effort that you've been putting in. So even though you've been brought up to this truth, some of you I feel like are resisting the work that still needs to be done, especially if we're dealing with the uncomfortableness of like immaturity and working on things within your mental. It can be really difficult to confront things about ourselves that we don't want to see, It can be really hard if you're unwilling to see the truth, if you're unwilling to lean into these uncomfortable pieces, it's not going to be something that you can work on for yourself. So for example, like if you realize that you've been acting immaturely and it's been causing strife within a relationship, seeing the truth for what it is, but now you have to do the work to do better in the future. And it can be really resistant, especially when you're struggling already to accept the uncomfortable part that you played within this, as well as, being resistant to the idea that you have to be the one to change or put in the work. But then also, it's not going to be the same for everybody, right, Capricorn? There's so many of you that a general reading, this is still very general. So a lot of this could be, resisting the work putting in towards fixing this relationship. Maybe in general you feel as though you were the one who has been putting in a lot of the work. You are the one who has been putting in a lot of the effort to try to fix this. And you're not seeing a result of it. And for some of you, if this is about like a relationship or a partnership, it could be because you can only do so much work on your half, and they also need to be putting in effort on the other side of it. So I know that there's so many different scenarios or different things like that this could be relevant to. I'm just giving examples. So let's keep moving. Your next card here is the 5 of Cups in reverse. Now, this is about needing to change perspective, right? This is a card about perspective, about optimism versus pessimism. I guess seeing for yourself where you stand within this. When you look at this card this way, you have more cups pouring out than you do in the upright. It's meant to represent like looking at the glass half empty, and you see nothing but darkness, even though you still have 2 cups of opportunity available to you. You're more focused on the things that you've lost as opposed to what you still have. Meanwhile, when you flip the card this way, sunrise or sunset, there's still light available. There's still something here that can be salvaged. And you have more cups in the upright than you do the reverse. It's kind of that glass half full mentality of looking at what tools you still have. Even though things have been uncomfortable, chaos or strife has been occurring within your life, it's still looking at the opportunities that are available and saying, hey, I still have a chance to fix this. I still have a chance to navigate this. Even though I have lost some things, I'm going to focus on instead what I still have available to navigate this. Now, this card did show up in the reverse for you, Capricorn, so it could signal a need to shift your perspective. If you have been finding yourself more on the pessimistic side, I would encourage you to try to, look on the other side of this and be realistic with yourself about the way that you're approaching this problem. let's move on to week 2 here, Capricorn. Starting off on week 2, you have the moon in reverse. Now, Capricorn, this is about needing to take a deep dive. The moon is the darker parts of our psyche. Sometimes it's the parts of ourselves that we try to hide, that we don't necessarily want to confront. It's also about like the instincts, the deeper knowing that guides us. So you could find that you do feel pretty guideless at this time. I mean, we did have the Queen of Swords in reverse, which is normally a card of, clear thinking. But with the moon, it's almost as if your guiding light in the darkness has been kind of snuffed out. I don't mean that in like a bad way. It's not necessarily about like losing hope, but more that it's disconnected from like your guiding truth or your guiding morals. I do really feel like a lot of you, Capricorn, are resisting the idea and the part that you played within a certain scenario. Okay, let's keep going. You do have the Six of Wands as your next card, which signals some sort of victory, some sort of celebration. So I guess, even if this is something that's not necessarily going positively for you, there is still something that happens that leaves you feeling victorious in some way. I almost feel like this feels like a big shift, and it is your next card following that is the Wheel of Fortune, which does signal a big shift within your fortunes, within your luck at this time. So the Six of Wands, there is something here that is some sort of victory for you to celebrate. So even though things can feel directionless, even though things can kind of feel a little bit difficult to confront at this time, the Six of Wands does say that there is a victory. It's also about sometimes it's about winning a fight, like an internal struggle, or even sometimes, yes, an external struggle, an external fight. It's about coming out on top and being the victor. I would say that if you are having to shift your perspective, if this is about, shifting your perspective from pessimism to optimism, the Six of Wands feels like a celebration of your optimism, shifting your mood so that you can focus on the ways that you are still capable and the things that you do have going right for you. Because, we can get stuck in this cycle of self-improvement where we can get this idea in our mind that we have to be constantly improving, constantly changing. And yes, we should be striving to, make these changes and act positively, but we also shouldn't be doing so in a self-shaming way. And we should still make time to celebrate how far we've come along. And even sometimes recognizing that, this idea of self-improvement, not doing it from a place of shame, recognizing when we are approaching self-improvement with shame instead of with compassion and self-love. And so the Six of Wands could very well be you shifting your perspective from this place of if you're feeling like you're immature and feeling like you're, stuck in this place of not knowing how to do something or not knowing how to navigate this, shifting your perspective towards one that's a bit more positive, one that celebrates your victories. Following the Six of Wands, you have the Wheel of Fortune, which, as we said, is a shift in your luck. It's a shift in your fortune, your energy. So it does say that, if you have been having a difficult time before, if you have been struggling, this feeling of victory does allow you to shift into a more abundance mindset. It does allow you to shift into a place where you are able to celebrate and see positive opportunities around you instead of being focused on, the negative stuff, focused on the places where you are lacking as opposed to the places where you can celebrate, where you are making big changes. So Wheel of Fortune, shifting yourself positively. Your next card is the Three of Wands in reverse. Now, this is interesting seeing it in the reverse. Normally this is about making a decision, right? And you had the Four of Wands in reverse. Now we have the Three of Wands in reverse. This is about moving, or normally in the upright, this is about moving towards a particular goal. I almost feel as though this is like you taking a pause. Almost as if you've been moving towards a specific outcome for a while at this point. And now you're kind of taking a pause to, I guess, reevaluate. I don't even think it's reevaluation. I think it's, I'm trying to think of the word. It's not reevaluation. It's like taking a pause to check in, essentially. Check in with your goals. Instead of making a bunch of actions or making a bunch of decisions, taking a bunch of action. It's almost as if you take a pause to make sure that your actions are still aligned with your goal at this time. Trust in the magic and spirit has a plan. Yeah, I think that if you have been making a lot of decisions at this time, I think this is almost like a pause to take a step back and releasing faith to the universe to bring you further into alignment with the things that you want. You know, I don't feel like it's like a derailment of your plan. I feel like it's like taking a step back so that spirit can have control for a little bit. Following the Three of Wands in reverse, you have the Nine of Swords in reverse. And this is a very positive change with this one. This is about moving away from anxiety, moving away from self-deprecating thoughts, moving away from fears, things like that. Normally this card in the upright is signaling anxiety. It signals being controlled by fear and anxiousness. And with this being in the reverse, it's not necessarily that your anxiety is gone. You know, it doesn't say that your anxiety is healed and completely gone. It's still here, but it's as if you're not allowing it to control your actions any longer. Taking a step away from that fear. And actually, it's right below the Eight of Swords. We had the Eight of Swords previously the week before, and the Nine of Swords on the same day, like following the week. So, you know, Eight of Swords is freeing yourself from this idea of your anxiety, freeing yourself from your anxious thought patterns, or even like, you know, self-deprecating or self-harmful thought patterns. I think sometimes if we like make a mistake, it's kind of that idea of like moving in compassion versus shame, right? Having compassion for yourself, not using your thoughts or using your self-improvement as a means of like shame or self-harm, right? Because self-improvement, it's such a fine line to ride about whether or not you're making improvement or like trying to shame yourself in towards perfection, right? There's a very fine line. And you don't want to be moving in shame. You don't want to be moving in this place of like hating yourself. We want to build ourselves up with love, and that's the exact opposite. So self-improvement from a place of love, self-improvement from a place of transformation, positive transformation for ourselves, is going to be a lot more important than trying to, you know, hit self-improvement from shame, from self-hate. Following the Nine of Swords in reverse, you have the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. Now, we did kind of, I did say this was here earlier. I got it confused with the Eight of Pentacles for a second. But the Ace of Pentacles in reverse, this is an opportunity, usually like a job or some sort of financial thing coming in for you, because pentacles are usually money. But this is also about our resources, feeling abundant and feeling as though we have the tools or the peace necessary in order to start a longer process of growth and expansion, right? You had the Ace of Wands, and wands are about our manifestation, confidence. It's the wand or the fire that lights up within our soul that allows us to, it ignites our passion, right? And the Pentacles is more about slow, steady progression, slow, steady growth. And so with this being in the reverse, you could feel like you're missing this piece, like you're missing some sort of piece or some sort of answer towards your growth at this point, especially because this does feel like it's a lot about your self-improvement and the way you're approaching your self-improvement. So, you know, you could be trying or feeling like you're waiting for this missing piece for improvement. But reality is that, you know, you have everything you need for improvement at this time. It comes from within. It doesn't come from someone giving you the right answer. Although, yes, it can be helpful having people tell you how they navigated these things. You know, it can be helpful having a blueprint from someone that you love or care about to help you navigate this. But really, the peace for change comes from within. And finally, your last card here is the Tower. Now, the Tower gets a bad rap in the tarot. It gets a bad rap as being a card of like fear or a card of things bad happening, things hitting the fan, falling down around you, things being in chaos. And really the Tower is Yes, it can feel chaotic when we go through tower moments in our lives. It can feel uncomfortable or even sometimes painful, but really what it is it's the tower is being brought down because it was built on the wrong foundation. It was built improperly. You know, think about like a building, like an actual physical building that was built not up to code, or a building that, you know, has some structural problems, structural instability. If we build upon the wrong things, things are going to crumble because it can only hold up for so long. And I feel like this is related to this idea of like your shame and self-improvement, right? If you've been moving towards self-improvement from a place of shame, well, it's only a matter of time before it crumbles, before this idea crumbles and you're not able to achieve this. You can only go so far from shame, whereas things like love and compassion are going to take you a lot further. That's where you're going to see the actual shift. And so the tower is really these things coming down, and yes, it can be painful or uncomfortable when it happens, but instead of looking on it as instead of looking at it as a loss, try to shift your perspective and look at it as an opportunity to build back better for yourself, to rebuild things from a blank slate, starting over, so that you can build something that'll actually last, something that'll actually stand the test of time. So Capricorn, we're going to pull one more card here. This is from The Universe Has Your Back. And I really just want to leave you with a positive message from the universe for these upcoming 2 weeks. If you've been like considering, some of you may have been thinking about like going on like a fitness journey or like a self-improvement journey, like about your, maybe like going to therapy or seeking like some self-help kind of books and guidelines. I would just, make sure that you're doing it from a place of self-love and not from self-hate. All right, let's see what you got. Yeah, I choose to learn through love. So yeah, if you've been considering, starting a self-improvement journey, if you've considered starting some sort of cycle that's going to get you closer to who you want to be, don't do it from shame. Learn through love. Love is going to take you a lot further along this road than self-hate or shame. So anyway, Capricorn, thank you so much for being here today, and I look forward to seeing you all again in the next reading.